You've built the perfect pitch. The math is flawless and the projections are solid. Yet the prospect still says no. Unlike a physical object, financial products are invisible promises. You are selling a future state of security, status, or freedom. We assume clients evaluate these promises rationally. In practice, financial choices are often dictated by unacknowledged fears and past experiences with money. This chart maps the performance of different sales methodologies. When we look at product-focused selling, the kind relying entirely on spreadsheets and feature lists, it typically clusters in the bottom left corner. Trust remains low and close rates stay stagnant. High-performance advisory aims for the top right quadrant. Here, high trust serves as the primary driver for closing complex contracts. Reaching that upper quadrant requires identifying the specific anxieties that dictate your client's behavior. The Enneagram functions as a psychological GPS for navigating that behavior. This 9-point diagram identifies 9 distinct ego archetypes, each with its own internal logic. In a financial context, these archetypes manifest as money monsters, predictable patterns of anxiety or avoidance that surface during a high-stakes consultation. Accurately identifying these 9 profiles requires more effort than simply following a standard sales script. We must evaluate whether the time required to master this framework produces enough of a closing advantage to justify the investment. To test the utility of this approach, we'll use a scorecard tracking the advisor's input against the required trade-offs. The first level involves categorizing a prospect by their center of intelligence, the head, the heart, or the body. This provides an immediate directional advantage. You know whether to focus your time on cold data, family legacy and relationships, or tangible, actionable results. The trade-off is a shift in control. You must engage in focused listening during discovery, rather than following the flow of a rehearsed pitch. This forces you to act as a diagnostician. You are prioritizing careful observation over a standard presentation. Next, we also evaluate the impact of targeting a client's specific core fear. An Enneagram Type 3 client is often driven by a fear of appearing unsuccessful. In response, you frame your advice around achievement and status. Contrast that with a Type 6, who is driven by a fear of lacking security. This client requires you to lead with safety nets and risk mitigation. Identifying these patterns allows you to resolve a client's unspoken objections before they are even vocalized. This requires you to abandon the safety of a universal sales deck in favor of customization. It also creates a steep learning curve, as you must memorize how 9 different trauma responses appear in a real-time conversation. When you address the root cause of a client's anxiety, the consultation shifts into a collaborative session. This builds the level of rapport required to manage high-net-worth assets. Finally, the scorecard also requires checking the advisor's own bias. Without self-awareness, you risk creating a financial Frankenstein, unconsciously projecting your own financial values or fears onto your client. Mastering your own type reduces friction. It allows you to separate your personal baggage from the client's actual needs. The trade-off is a requirement for uncomfortable self-reflection to understand your own relationship with money. Effective financial guidance ends where the advisor's unexamined fears begin. Considering these significant learning and workflow requirements, does it make sense to integrate the Enneagram into your sales stack? Let's trace the decision tree. We'll start with high-volume transactional sales. For example, making 500 cold calls a day. The answer here is no. The Enneagram requires too much individual analysis to function in a high-speed, churn-and-burn workflow. Now consider high-touch advisory and complex wealth management. Here, the answer is a definitive yes. It is the ideal tool for business models where success depends on long-term retention and the ability to uncover hidden assets. The Enneagram is the translation tool between a financial product's features and a client's emotional needs. Your spreadsheets only prove that the product works. Applying psychological insight proves that you understand the person across the desk. In high-stakes financial advising, that proof of understanding is what actually signs the contract.